President pretends to gobble up little girl before sniffing her on the tarmac before leaving Finland, and Twitter has plenty to say about it. Most children would dream of a personal encounter with the leader of the free world. But this little girl looked mortified as Joe Biden pretended to gobble her up and sniff her during a bizarre exchange in Finland. The 80-year-old president was caught engaging with the mom and daughter as he prepared to fly back to Washington from Europe. Biden was in Helsinki following the NATO summit in Lithuania, where he was also slammed for making a creepy comment to a female Finnish reporter. It is the latest bizarre clip of the president, who has often raised questions in the past for his interactions with youngsters. Footage showed Biden leaning into the young girl in her mother's arms on the tarmac at Helsinki airport. He moved his mouth in a gobbling motion towards the youngster, before resting it on her shoulder and continuing to nibble. The girl's mom and a man watching on laughed at the president, but the child looked horrified and scowled at him as he backed away. She continued to squirm and turned her back on the commander-in-chief as her mother tried to take a selfie. Meanwhile, Biden kept making faces at her, before appearing to try to smell her head or nuzzle her. He finally walked away before being greeted by other onlookers, hoping to grab a picture with him. The girl continued to sulk in her mother's arms. The president was widely mocked on social media after the video emerged on Friday afternoon. Some branded the interaction strange, while others went as far as to call for him to be put in a nursing home. "This is quite strange," Republican Representative Matt Gaetz posted on Twitter alongside the clip. "Oops," Republican Senator Ted Cruz added. "Biden should be in a nursing home, not leading the free world." Donald Trump Jr. also wrote in a tweet. Conservative activist Caleb Hull said, "This has got to be Biden's creepiest moment yet with a child. All Biden has to do is not do this, and he can't." It comes after Biden also found himself in hot water for a bizarre comment made to a female Finnish reporter. He was reflecting on uncertainty and his sense of fatalism, while fielding a question about NATO's newest member, Finland, which sits just 70 miles from Russia. "We will stand together," he said at a press conference with Finnish President Sauli Niinisto, after the country had rushed to join the alliance, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. "No one can guarantee the future, but this is the best bet anyone can make," he qualified. He did so even as the Finnish president began answering a similar question. "Let me be clear," Biden told Leena Tikka, the DC correspondent of Finnish public broadcaster Yle. "I didn't say we couldn't guarantee the future. You can't tell me whether you're going to be able to go home tonight. No one can be sure what they're going to do. I'm saying as sure as anything could possibly be said about American foreign policy. We will stay connected to NATO. Connected to NATO beginning, middle, and end. We're a transatlantic partnership," the Finnish president added. "It seems the president has solved your problems. I have no reason to doubt about USA policies in the future," added Niinisto. Biden had to ask his questioner to repeat her inquiry after she referenced a bipartisan bill by Sens. Marco Rubio, R. Florida, and Tim Kaine, D. Virginia, to prevent a president from withdrawing from NATO without congressional approval. Biden had earlier stated the United States is committed to Finland, committed to NATO, and those commitments are rock solid. He vowed to protect every inch of NATO territory, and that includes Finland, obviously, he said. The assurances came during a press conference that featured mutual compliments, but where Biden had to ask for questions to be repeated. He also had to correct himself after accidentally referring to the head of Ireland instead of the head of Iceland, having met with a group of Nordic nations. "You can tell that's a Freudian slip. I'm thinking of home," he said. He had just called Prime Minister of Iceland Katrin Jakobsdottir a daughter of Ireland before catching himself. His last overseas trip was to Ireland, where he has ancestral roots. It all took place in the same room in the presidential palace where Donald Trump appeared to side with Vladimir Putin in 2018 and accepted assurances from the Russian leader that he hadn't interfered in the 2016 elections. Biden also expressed unwavering support to the brave people of Ukraine after coming from a NATO summit in Vilnius, where Ukraine got new assurances about joining NATO, but not the timeline for getting invited that President Volodymyr Zelensky sought. He said he didn't think Russia's war could go on for years, or that Russia could maintain it forever due to limited resources capacity. Russia has been riding out Western sanctions, but has experienced apparent issues with arms, ammunition, and troops, who are getting sacrificed in the meat grinder of the Ukraine invasion. Later, in response to a U.S. question, Biden revealed during his answer to a question about Russian President Vladimir Putin that the U.S. does not know with certainty the location of mutineer Yevgeny Prigozhin, the Wagner private military boss who led a column toward Moscow, only to make a deal and back off. He was asked about the reemergence of the Russian military chief of staff Valery Gerasimov, amid scrutiny of how Putin will respond to the threat against his leadership and his top commanders. God only knows what he's likely to do, Biden said. We're not even sure where he is and what relationship he has, he said of Prigozhin, who cut a deal for sanctuary in Belarus, but who, according to the Kremlin, met with Putin there. If I were him, I'd be careful what I ate and keep my eye on the menu, Biden said, in his second bit of dark humor of the press event. In response to a question about Russian interference in U.S. elections, he said, they're already interfering. That would not be anything new. It was as close as he got to referencing the 2018 Trump-Putin presser here, where Trump accepted Putin's denials of interfering in the 2016 elections. On fears a weakened Putin could lash out with nuclear weapons, Biden said, I don't think there's any real prospect. You never know of Putin using nuclear weapons. Neither man referred to Putin by his name. The Finnish president called him our neighbor. Biden called him the gentleman who occupies a seat the other side of the border in Moscow. Biden had a blunt assessment of whether Putin could prevail or how long it might take to end. Putin's already lost the war, he said, amid tough fights by Ukraine to reclaim territory. There is no possibility of him winning, Biden said. He said Russia's resources would run out, but I can't predict exactly how that happens.